Have you ever seen an action movie and wondered if the stunts were actually possible? For this project, I'll be analyzing one of the scenes from Fast and Furious 7, in which Vin Diesel jumps from one skyscraper to the next. On the last slide of the presentation, there's a link to the scene in Fast and Furious 7 that I'm talking about, but for time's sake, I'll explain what happens. So Vin Diesel's character and Paul Walker's character are in one of the skyscrapers in Abu Dhabi. They are under huge gunfire and they have to get out of there quickly, and they realize that the car they're driving inside the skyscraper doesn't have brakes. So naturally, Vin Diesel decides that it's a good idea to try to jump from one of the skyscrapers to the other to escape the bad guys. The burning question I had when I saw this scene is it possible? Can Vin Diesel really do that? Here's the physics we can use to answer that question. Some important facts that we have to account for when we're analyzing the scene is what kind of car it is. So on the screen you can see it's a Lykan Hyposport car. And now these cars are $3.8 million and have crazy acceleration. So some of the facts that we know are that the mass of the car is 1,600 kilograms. The acceleration, as you can see by the math, is 9.93 meters per second squared, and the estimated distance between one tower and the next tower is 30.48 meters, which is around 100 feet. Now for the fun part. So we'll be using kinetic equations, which is the change in x is equal to the initial velocity times time plus 1/2 the acceleration times squared. And this is true for not only the x direction, but also the y direction. So first we need to figure out how long the car is actually going to be in the air. So usually you would do this with the y direction, but because I thought that height wouldn't really be an issue, I started off in the x direction first. So as you can see by the calculations, it would take the car 2.48 seconds to make the jump from one skyscraper to the next. So now, how far would they fall in that time period? So I used another kinetic equation, but this time in the y direction. And we found that the car would fall 30.1 meters. Now the average story of a building is 4.5 meters, which means that the car would fall about 6.7 meters total. So would Vin Diesel make it? Yes, he would! The most important part of this whole project is why. Why would the car actually make it? So the skyscraper that Vin Diesel starts in is 40 stories tall, and they definitely start on at least the 20th story, which means that a 6.7 story fall is relatively within the range of possible because the ground is so far away. Another reason that this is possible is the car that they're driving has crazy fast acceleration. I use the acceleration that is the slowest case scenario, and as you'll see if you watch the clip, the car's actually accelerating for more than 2.8 seconds, which means that that final velocity would be higher and the acceleration overall would also be higher. My final reason is my sources also agree with me. They think that actually the car would fall less than 6.7 stories because they did things like use a faster acceleration, and also they took into account the trajectory of the car as it jumped out of the skyscraper, but we haven't really covered that yet, which is why I left it out. Thanks for watching. I hope that you found this project as fascinating as I did, and please, please, please go check out the clip. Started at 2 minutes. Is a really, really cool thing to watch.